Hello and welcome to the Backlot 605 podcast. We are on episode number 140 and episode number 2 of our long-winded animation live-action hybrid movie series, aka this week, me and Brian go to hell because we are talking about 1992's Cool World.
Cool World.
Jesus Christ, why are we doing this? But I won't.
Because I like
to beautiful film.
I love to subject you to, the pain and anguish that you have subjected me to sometimes.
I was gonna say this is my revenge, or your revenge for me making you watch Sleepaway Camp last year.
This was as soon as I knew we were doing these hybrid movies, I immediately was like, Cool World is on that list.
Cool World is on this list, and that's why I was like, as soon as I saw this come up, I'm like, all right, we're doing this. We're doing Cool World.
Brian, I have a quick question for you. Why couldn't you have been nicer to Casey and just made him watch Song of the South instead? I mean, there's less problematic material in that movie.
Yeah.
Because it's not readily available. And I'm not
That's
racist.
okay. That's what makes it cool. World. Real Cool World by David Bowie.
There's so much other things I'd rather talk about this, and I would love to talk about the racist Disney movie more than Cool World, but we're not.
Yes.
Instead, we're talking about 1992's Cool World starring Brad Pitt, Kim Basinger. So much like that dynamic duo, we have to bring in our own dynamic duo with our Brad Pitt and Kim Basinger. You guys can decide which one of you wants to be which, but Cory Jacobsen is back.
I want to
Lou
be
is
Kim,
back.
but I know she hates Brad Pitt, so I guess I have to be Brad Pitt.
You're both Brad Pitt.
She just claimed to be Brad Pitt, so you get to be our Kim Basinger.
Can I be Gabriel Byrne?
Ooh, good
Just
choice.
show as much emotion as he does in the movie during this podcast.
Okay.
So none at all. Guys, thank you so much for doing this. I'm sorry we had to drag you into the hell that we call Cool World for this, but welcome. I fully expect this to be much like this movie's history, because this is going to be all over the place nonsense.
Right.
Because this movie is all over the place nonsense.
Yeah,
as well.
Really.
Guys, we of course we want to get into the box office, the news, and then Cool World. So maybe we should rush through those first things and get into this weird ass movie, because
Sure.
I mean, in all intents and purposes, I just want to get to this movie because oh my god, let's just get into it.
He's like, can I get this done any faster?
Right.
That's how they felt about making this movie. Can we get this done any faster? And we're going to try to do so the same here on the podcast. So let's jump into the box office then. Number one, Black Widow, $80 million.
Yes.
Good for Black Widow.
Good.
Which, according to what I've been hearing too, this does not include the $60 million they're talking they got out of Disney Plus, or how much money they've made also overseas. So I mean, this is huge for Hollywood. Well, huge for Disney too.
But is it because the box office is finally like getting back to normal, or is it because this movie is good?
I think it's a little bit of both, because I mean, I would certainly say is I went to the Thursday preview, and except for those few rows in the very front of the XD theater, there was barely any open seats whatsoever.
Oh,
like
wow.
my showing was damn near sold out.
Is it a good movie?
I enjoy it, but I'm also a shill for the MCU though too.
Sure.
So, I'm probably that biased opinion just as much as someone says that, why would I rate the Fast and Furious the way that I do?
Well, because those are 5-star movies, Brian.
They are.
Black Widow is one of the best solo movies that they've made in a while. I'll say that. It's also 5 years too late, but that's not the movie's fault. That's just Disney's fault for
Right.
pulling the trigger on a Black Widow movie until the character's already dead.
The one thing I will certainly give Black Widow, because of they're definitely going for that spy thriller-esque feel to it and whatnot, is getting somebody who's done a movie like the Bourne movies or somebody like that. I think would have probably added to it. But I mean, the performances in it I think are absolutely amazing. Florence Pugh just absolutely shines in this and probably outshines everybody else that she is supporting.
Good. That's I like her quite a bit. So
her and David Harbour have a very, very great scene together that just goes to show how much talent they have in just that one scene and how much Hollywood needs to put him in more things.
I think possibly after the whole Hellboy fiasco, maybe he wasn't. You said David Harbour, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But I mean, it's not like he's been sloughing off though. I mean, outside of just working on Stranger Things, because I mean, just this week alone, I've seen 2 movies with him in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
cool.
Yeah.
Another movie that is blowing up the box office because goddamn Black Widow's all about family. So is F9, The Fast Saga. It's also all about family. You could honestly say our whole box office is about family, especially number 2, Fast 9. Like I said, $10 million here for what, 3rd or 4th weekend out? 3rd weekend.
Third.
Yeah, again, these crazy bastards. They've done it again, and will keep doing so. And I will applaud them every single time because,
I will keep going. And I will keep going and spending my money.
I will too, because we did our Patreon bonus episode on Fast 9, and I said there's about 5 different times in this movie where Vin Diesel and crew are in their car hitting that ramp, ready to jump over that shark, and they say, "F the shark, we're going to space instead."
Okay.
And I applaud them for it.
And it's beautiful.
This series has as much logic about its world as Cool World does.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, but Fast 9's actually good, though, from what I've heard.
Fast 9 is actually good. Cool World is not.
Show your true feelings,
we're ruining the episode so far. We've already told our opinions of this film.
Oh, if people know of Cool World, they know anyone's opinion on that film. Number 3, The Boss Baby Family Business. Again, family. $8.7 million for the movie no one remembered was coming out.
Boss Baby.
Yeah.
Yep.
That thing, if you've got Peacock, you can just watch it at home.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
I will not do that.
You will not do that?
I'm still going to pass.
No. But first one was all right, I guess.
This one I would say is kind of on that same par. It's nothing to write home about, but it's not a horrible movie.
Is Alec Baldwin still in it?
Alec Baldwin's still in it. Jeff Goldblum plays a great villain.
Okay.
So, yeah. Take that for what it's worth.
So, in the case of Boss Baby, life finds a way.
Life does find a way.
Yes.
Life does find a way.
Life does find a way. I mean, The Boss Baby, we'll tie it into Cool World at least a little bit, is an acid trip of a movie in its own right. So maybe that'll be our double feature pick for Cool World and then Boss Baby.
Well, it's about a baby that's a boss of a company.
Voiced by the greatest actor ever, Alec Baldwin.
Stephen Baldwin?
Not
Steven.
Not William. Not Daniel.
Well,
Steven.
And he was married to Kim Basinger for a long time, so it all works out.
It all connects.
It all connects.
Dear God, just put us in the purge at this point.
Sure.
Number 4 is The Purge, the Forever Purge, $6.7 million. And then rounding it out, Quiet Place Part 2, Family, because there's family in that, $3 million for this movie. That's almost 2 months out in the theaters here for Quiet Place Part 2.
I do like this top 5 because I mean, even if you go into like the Forever Purge, it's about the husband and wife trying to get safety and whatnot. So they're literally all have some sort of family dynamic between all 5 of these movies. So I get a kick out of that. And I think this is the first time in many ever that the entire top 5 list I've actually seen all 5 of them.
Oh wow!
Whoa,
that never happens.
Why did you watch
Forever Purge?
What's that?
How is the Forever Purge?
I would put the Forever Purge probably in the same lines of like the first Purge, in that the premise and the idea and the topic are there. I just think some of the execution is slightly lacking.
Okay.
Because I mean, if you think of like the one with Marissa Tomei, like the idea of how this all came to be just wasn't quite. I don't think was didn't live up to the potential probably could have, and I think that's the same thing.
Right.
Josh Lucas does a fantastic job, but that's because he hasn't played a cowboy. It's not much of a stretch for him.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds. I'll probably see it. I've seen the other ones, so
Yeah. And that was the other thing too. It's like it's on my list of things that it kind of falls in line with what I'm doing, and I've already seen all the other ones, so I gotta have to I can't not be a completionist.
All right, Brian, what do we got for the news?
Well, because some studios can't be outdone by Netflix while trying to put great ensemble casts together, like Knives Out sequels and whatnot. Looks like Matt Vaughn is looking to set his next cast with Henry Cavill, Sam Rockwell, John Cena, Dua Lipa, Sam Jackson, Bryan Cranston, and Bryce Dallas Howard. All I have is a bunch of names that I absolutely think will put together in a great film by somebody who knows how to make great films. And I don't know anything about this film other than the fact that this is it. And I'm already sold on what we probably try to get out of this.
This movie will probably come out before his next Kingsman movie at this point.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is what, December of this year it got pushed to?
Something like that. I want to
maybe
say.
November. Jesus Christ, just released the movie already.
Right.
Yeah, I love Matthew Vaughn. I think he's definitely one of my favorite directors working today, and seeing him with this cast is quite interesting to see. Let's throw John Cena, Henry Cavill, and Bryan Cranston in a movie together. I'm like, sure, why not? Sam Rockwell's just the cherry on top of that.
Right.
For sure. I'm always happy when Sam Rockwell's in something.
Oh yeah, right. I mean, and granted, you look at this cast, and it's probably with like some other ensemble cast. It's like the studio is literally like throwing darts at that great big huge cast wall thing and whatnot. Be like, yeah, that'll we can make that work.
Yeah, like Moneyball, but with casting. That makes sense. Yeah, if we throw enough money into actors, people will see the movie even if it's crap. So
yeah, pretty much. But we hope we get a Knives Out as opposed to a crap movie.
Right. We'll see.
So
I would like to see this meeting board where they have like, all right, we have $100 million to spend on our cast. Right. Where can we pick out of this? How much is Henry Cavill going to cost? Okay, if we get Henry Cavill, we can't get Ben Affleck or whatever. Who out of this cast do you think charges the biggest wage for this movie?
Ooh, well, not Dua Lipa.
Right. She's probably just happy to be there.
Yeah, I think so.
But that's what's funny is, I mean, if you honestly look at this cast list, there are some good solid names in here, but they're not the kind of solid names where you expect to hear of a $20-30 million paycheck.
No.
I think these are very solid names where I think they're going to be able to get the names in, to get the butts in the seats without having a huge cast budget, honestly. Because I mean, maybe I think you'd probably be tied between Henry Cavill and Sam Jackson, maybe.
Yeah, I thought Samuel Jackson too, because he doesn't need the money, so he probably charges a lot. Yeah,
because he's in everything. He probably just charges by the minute at that
right.
point. But I mean, people are gonna go, are gonna love the fact that Bryan Cranston's in there or whatnot. Mm-hmm. But it's not like he is top tier $20 million actor, and same with Bryce Dallas Howard, that kind of thing. So that's where I would kind of see it. And as much as I say that about Dua Lipa and whatnot, John Cena's probably like, Matt Vaughn wants me to be in a movie. Where do I sign the check?
Right.
See, I think Henry Cavill is probably the one pushing the biggest check in this, but I think John Cena is probably right behind him just because of who he is as a brand himself. Samuel Jackson, I don't see as charging probably too much because he is, like we said, he's in everything. Every movie can afford Samuel Jackson. He's just put it on his Capital One card and he's good to go.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm excited for this. I think this cast is really fun, and to see all of them fits into that Matthew Vaughn style pretty well, I think.
Very much so. Very much so. And like Lou said here, everything's better with Sam Rockwell.
Yeah.
Like, he's one of those ones where I being that, we were talking, MCU here a little bit here, is the fact I want him back in the MCU somehow. I want Hammer back in the MCU. On that here, I'm going to have to leave this one up to you here, Casey. YouTuber Chris Stuckman to make debut with horror film Shelby Oaks. What are we talking about?
I threw this in here just because I love Chris Stuckman. I don't know how everybody else feels about it. And I do love horror movies. And I mean, we have a pseudo connection to this in a way because we had the film's producer that's behind this, Aaron B. Kuntz, on the podcast to talk about Scare Package when that came out. And so that's the same production company that's making this. But I'm excited to see Chris Stuckman because I've been watching him since 2013 on YouTube. Pretty much everything he does on there for reviews, or now he has this little segment on there called like his filmmaking journey, which I find fascinating, from going from like a YouTube critic to now he's making a feature film that'll get it'll get a big release behind it as well. So I'm very excited for the guy. I'm glad he is getting this chance to do so. And as a fan of his for many years, I'm glad that he finally gets to fulfill his dream, fulfill what he's been shooting for the last however many years he's been on YouTube. And yeah, I'm very excited for it. He loves horror movies. That's his jam too. So see a horror movie fan getting a shot at doing a feature horror movie. Yes, please.
Hopefully it's a good horror movie then.
Hopefully
I don't know. Now I want to see it. That sounds cool. I mean, I like people attaining their dreams. That's kind of awesome.
Here's a crazy idea here, Casey. What is it about?
It's about this like online story that came to be. I don't know a whole lot about it, but it's basically, I'll have to look up what. I really don't know much about what the plot of this actually is.
You're over here just gushing about Stuckman. I'm like, how about we find out what is it he's actually doing?
How about I reach out to the production company and we just talk to Stuckman about this movie? I think that's what I'm definitely going to be shooting for. But the story here. It is a story of a fictional mid-2000s U.S. paranormal investigation team called the Paranormal Paranoids. It is about found footage that's recently surfaced about this paranormal group online. So it's kind of like it sounds like a little bit Grave Encounters style of found footage,
right,
in there as well, which I
dig
love Grave Encounters.
So.
Yeah. So I'm excited for him. I don't know how everybody else feels about Stuckman. I know some people don't like him, but I love him and I love his reviews.
I think Lou and I over here going, okay.
Who?
Yep, smile and nod.
Smile and nod. Smile and nod. Just like Casey over there, just gush for a little bit.
I mean, I dig I dig Chris Stuckman. He's not my favorite in the world, but
well, it's us, obviously.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, I kind of put him on the same level as like a Jeremy Johns, maybe a touch higher, better than a certain someone who has a podcast and was featured on In Search of Darkness. But yeah, Stuckman's all right. I hope he does well. So
Same here. I brought it up because I love the dude. Honestly, we would not be doing this podcast if it wasn't for him. Brian probably doesn't know that, but it's true.
Nope, not a clue.
Yeah,
cool.
I like how it took 140 episodes in 2.5 years for you to tell me that.
Eventually, we will get him on the show, and I will tell him that. So, all right, let's get in.
Brian's right there. You can tell him right now.
Well, not Brian. I'll tell
I
Brian
know.
And then Brian
I'll
will
just
be
see
like,
myself
"Who's Chris
out."
Stuckman yet?"
Yeah.
You know what movie Chris Stuckman has not reviewed, and we will be reviewing, in a way, I guess, or talking about, is 1992's Cool World.
Oh no, we're gonna start that now.
Okay. We're at that point. There was no more news.
Now Cory's like, okay, now I'm out.
Yep.
Let's talk about silly YouTubers again, and not this movie.
Oh, let me move down to the floor. Okay.
That's where this movie belongs.
Hello.
Oh boy, yeah.
Okay, so first question. This was a first time watch for me. Brian, I know you have seen this. Cory, I'm going to assume you have seen this.
I saw this a very long time ago when I was a kid. I rented it from Farmore when that was a thing around Sioux Falls. And
thank you, Cory, for making me relive my childhood by just saying the word Farmore.
Yep. And I think I watched it all of once and never felt the need to watch it again. And I like Ralph Bashki. I do. I don't love Fritz the Cat, but I mean, I like the R. Crumb stuff better. But yeah, Bashki has a different style. This movie is just all over the place.
Yeah.
And it includes just a ton of things that aren't necessary.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Corey, if I could,
everything is necessary.
If I could, I would throw random animations at our screen right now, just like the
Yes.
movie would.
Yeah, and have like these little ghost guys like
Yes.
pop up. Like, what's happening? We don't know. Let's not go into it. It's fine.
I am.
Oh, I'm gonna start a story now. Yeah, my mom and I were riding around on a motorcycle. She died. Let's talk about this movie. We're never going to go back to that story. We're never going to make that a thing ever. But sure, yeah, let's include that. Oh, by the way, I killed a man. You'd think that would be important, but no, it's not. Not at all.
I'm going to move
it's
on
not from play into anything.
I'm going to move on from you killing a man to ask Lou if she's ever seen this movie, because that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So funny story is when you guys talked about us doing this podcast together today. I thought, I've never seen that movie before. I have no idea what it is. Cory showed me a picture of it, and I'm like, I've never seen that. So popped that movie in last night, and it started, and it's like, oh crap, yeah, I've seen this. I do not like this movie. Yeah, I saw it as a kid a couple times actually, and I think as a kid, it was probably a better watch because the glaring mistakes and missing pieces and things don't really pop out at you as a kid. I mean, I liked Who Framed Roger Rabbit and those type of movies. So
I would also put on the fact that, for when we watched this much younger, when it was much newer,
yeah,
is that, when this came out, especially at least for me and Cory here, just because I know how old Cory is, is that this is kind of that borderline time frame of us probably maybe appreciating more as we're kids, just because we're looking at these cartoons doing and saying things that cartoons are not supposed to be doing and saying.
Yeah.
Because we grew up on, like your Looney Tunes and stuff like that. Like the most violent thing you ever saw was like Wile E. Coyote and all that kind of stuff. And you watch stuff like this, you're like, that animated thing just flipped off Brad Pitt, or they're swearing and you're smoking. And you're like, these are not the animations that I grew up with. So I think that's part of the reason when you go into this, you're like, that's not what I expected.
Yeah, and the sexy one makes you feel a little warm and fuzzy. It's just tricky how, I don't know. So there are parts of it that are super redeemable, and I do like, and they do stand out as probably the best part of this movie. But I've never, as an adult, sat and really watched this movie. I haven't thought of it since I was probably 11. So, yeah.
I mean, there's great production design. I mean, the movie looks good. The movie looks cool. The way that the characters interact with each other does not work. Where the cartoons interact with the human beings, it doesn't work. But the world that they create is kind of cool.
Right.
World.
It's kind of a cool world.
What do you mean? Yeah. Cool? You didn't believe for 1 second Brad Pitt was actually giving that cartoon a back rub in the most awkward way possible?
No.
Or his ability to fake a smoked cigarette.
Oh my God.
Or where inexplicably his car turns from a real car to a cardboard car or an animated car all within 3 seconds. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I'm going to use our explicit tag on this one because my God, cool world.
It deserves it.
If the movie's not going to be R-rated, this podcast definitely will.
Right. Do you guys think that's the missing piece in this? Is they should have gone that extra step to actually make some of these scenes what they were supposed to be to kind of make the movie interesting?
The actual movie that I know Ralph Bakshi wanted to make is much more interesting than this movie that we got. And I think it's because two things, I guess. Studio didn't want R-rated adult style animated movie. And Kim Basinger didn't want to be in that type of movie.
Really? Well, but I don't think she is any kind of glue holding this together. Insert pretty blonde girl, right? Like, I mean, she has a great voice and she has a beautiful body. I'm not saying anything like that. I'm just saying I feel like that could have been kind of anybody.
Well, and according to rumor, she wanted the movie toned down even more so that she could show it to sick children in hospitals.
Okay, that's
charity
just
work was her big
delusional.
thing at the time.
Did she want these kids to die earlier by watching this?
Right.
It's like Patch Adams, but in reverse. Like, yeah, we're just gonna try to quicken things up, guys. Yeah.
We're gonna have you suffering right now, kids. Watch it.
We're putting on Cool World.
I think I
In
figured it
VR.
out. She wanted to tone this one down so she could make it PG, because that same year she had a Richard Gere R-rated movie come out. She's like, well, I need to show something to the kids, and I can't show them this one.
Mm-hmm.
You talking about Final Analysis?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The fact you knew that just off your top of your head makes me realize why I'm not as good at movies as I thought I was until I started doing this, Cory.
I almost bought that on multiple occasions within the last 3 weeks. So I have found it at many thrift shops.
She's like, this is not My Stepmother's an Alien kind of movie.
Right.
No, I'm just a sexy animated woman that has sex with my cartoonist. Let's get into the plot. Cory, you started off the plot by saying Brad Pitt in 1945 comes back from World War II because nothing screams cool, edgy 90s movie like World War II and coming back from war to hug your mom.
Right.
And he
not like a fiance or a wife or anything like that, but just come back to go hug mom.
Go hang out with mom and take her for a ride on your motorcycle in your cool
that you won
suit.
Because of gambling. He won in a card game.
Yeah.
They must have shipped it to his house. They don't.
Yeah, I know.
We don't know how long between when he got off that airplane to when he won it in the card game.
So, no, he won the card game overseas though.
But they're just down the way from a gambling hall.
Yeah.
So, because that plays a part in the next little bit of the movie that is never referenced again, except for the moment that he has to get back into the real world. But continue, Casey.
Don't worry, guys. We're almost there. There's not much plot left to this movie. He and his mom get in a car accident, and then the mom dies. Brad Pitt gets sucked into animated Cool World. Why? Because of a thing, a
glowing
thingy.
Spike.
A spike that is not explained at any point in this movie, how it works, why it works. No one else uses it besides Brad Pitt.
Other than that one little tiny scientist guy that created the spike, but it's never specified that he created it, but he's using it. To try and get into the real world. And then the spike ends up on top of a building.
This is my first question of many in this. Why is Brad Pitt the one that's chosen to go to Cool World?
I don't think he's not the one who's chosen, because they reference the fact that other people have gone to the Cool World and whatnot. He seems to be the only one that stays.
But why did they pick him?
I have read a really interesting theory about this movie. And I'll kind of keep it brief, but basically Holly created Cool World. Gabriel Byrne did not create Cool World. Holly did. And Holly her soul wants to get into the real world. And the only way that she is able to do that is by inviting these people into the animated world. And so she keeps bringing people in, and unfortunately none of them have sex with her.
Oh no.
And
knowing Gabriel Byrne does.
And knowing about today's weird internet culture, I don't buy that for 1 second that some dude was not sucked into this world before. And did not have sex.
Anime waifus are a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I don't. This movie has so many plot holes. That's probably the biggest one. But this movie doesn't make any lick of sense, especially the MacGuffin of the spike.
Yeah.
Because later when Gabriel Byrne is sucked into the cool world, where he's the artist that is thought of to create this because it's based on a comic book that he's writing, but he apparently has just had visions of Cool World and has drawn them for the comic book.
So basically, he's having visions of another world and he's exploiting it for his own financial gain.
Well, not ever knowing that he's exploiting it. He just thinks these are legit visions that he's having. Except when Hollywood, get it? Hollywood? That's her name, because Hollywood, that's where they make movies, guys.
And Hollywood, if she could.
Hollywood, if she could, yes.
If she could, and she did with Gabriel Byrne.
I mean, did she though? Like, she had all of her clothes on and stuff, and I don't know. Was that sex? Did we see sex? I mean, she kind of just like went like that for a minute. I don't know. I wasn't sure.
And there is a scene where, I kid you not, during the sex scene, Gabriel Byrne is not moving at all. He
might be dead.
Asleep and or dead.
He just
I'm not claiming that you should go back and watch that movie again to see that scene, but it does happen, and it's real weird.
He just wants to let the animation run out.
Right.
Meanwhile, these weird cartoon characters are washing this whole time.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Because Hollywood said that they could.
But did say they could.
Yeah.
So in true animated character format, they're trying to stack anything and everything they can to go up this really long, weird, stupid tower.
Yep.
To watch her bang a human.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and I know that I had mentioned it before, but let's not forget, Gabriel Byrne, the dude that was in prison, killed a guy that was sleeping with his wife. Well, that he found with his wife. That is the only little bit of information that you're given as to why he is in prison. It's never brought up again. Yep. It never factors into the plot.
The next door, the neighbors across the street that are two females don't question the fact that they are living across the street from a convicted murderer.
No.
Yeah,
they're fine with that. Yeah.
Why did this movie need him in prison in the first place? It's not like he escaped prison because of Cool World. Like, he got into Cool World and then was released from prison because they thought he escaped or something like that. It's just he's in prison drawing, and then he's out of prison, still doing the same shit he was doing before.
Yeah. And you kind of felt for his character for a couple of minutes, because so he just gets out of prison. He's trying to rebuild his life. He starts having these really interactive, crazy events happen where cartoon characters are coming to life. He's portaling between Cool World and Earth. And it's he might think he's going crazy, but
yeah,
okay.
He does. He has sex with a doodle.
Yeah, no, it's just, what if all of that was just in his mind and he's just having a mental breakdown?
This entire movie actually takes place with him inside a padded room.
Yeah, maybe he didn't get out of prison and this is just what his life is. And I don't know, that would have been cool too, to have kind of that St. Elsewhere or Dallas kind of ending where none of that really happened in the real world. And they kind of tell us that, it seems like he is the creator of the world, but he isn't. And so that's kind of why I kind of buy a little bit about, Cory, what you were saying about that theory about what Holly's role is. But I guarantee you, whoever made up that theory put in way more thought than anything that happened in this movie. So, although
I watched this for the 47th time.
Yeah, well, the original plot line, sure, was cool, but that's not the movie that got made at all. So this is what we have, and it's not good. It doesn't make sense.
The original plot line for this movie, I looked it up before we did this.
Yeah,
Cory, you've heard of this, I'm sure.
Where's
this movie? Where's that movie?
No, because it was supposed to be a borderline horror film about an artist that has sex with his creation. They have a kid, and she gets all messed up because she doesn't have an identity and kind of goes on a rampage trying to find her father, supposedly. And that's a little bit that I know. You can fill in some more details, Casey. But
that's pretty much what I saw, and then I saw a few storyboards from Ralph Bakshi on it too. So it's that was the movie he had pitched, and the studio's No, we're not doing that because there's elements of that still in here, obviously, with a cartoonist sleeping with his own drawing and sort of like the melding of the cartoon and the real world, but it's never full. Neither of those is fully explored in this movie. Nothing's fully explored in this movie.
Well, no, I like the irony of the fact that the PG-13 version that they made is actually more skeevy than the original version that he wanted to make. This is weirder and almost more perverse because nothing is explained.
Mm-hmm.
It's just this big hodgepodge of cartoons wanting to have sex and men wanting to have sex with cartoons. But
because
telling
they want to
themselves
leave
that they
everything
can't
to the
because of what will
imagination.
happen when they have sex with cartoons.
And
like the Brad Pitt character. Oh, and okay, I'm going to bring up a thing, and this is involving the ending.
Mm-hmm.
This is involving the ending, and this is once again another thing that is never explained in the entire movie. There's no hint of it, but all of a sudden in the end, you find out that if a human is killed by a cartoon in their cartoon form, the human becomes a cartoon?
Well, you can't kill Brad Pitt off, so you got to figure out how you're going to keep him around.
But
and he's going to be able to get with his girlfriend.
It's never talked about.
No.
It just happens in order to keep a character around and have a happy ending, despite the fact that they really give no ending to Gabriel Byrne's character.
Well, I thought his ending was he transforms into the superhero guy.
Yeah. And now has stretchy arms.
Yeah, but I think he's the superhero guy.
But
Stretch Armstrong, he is the animated Stretch Armstrong.
Yeah. Oh boy!
In this movie, okay, so the movie kind of starts, I never saw Gabriel Byrne as the hero that he ends up actually being at the end of this.
Right.
Brad Pitt seems more obviously the protagonist. He's the character we start off the movie with, and his first sucked into Cool World at least has a tragic backstory that we're into at least a little bit.
Or at least on the poster.
He's the one on the poster. He's the not top build. He's third build in this movie, actually. But I mean, he's all over the promotions for it. But he's actually the main character of this movie. But when Gabriel Byrne shows up, he turns into the hero for some reason because the old animated professor says he's the hero, and that's it. And then there's no why are we supposed to all of a sudden root for the guy that banged his own drawing? And killed a guy and ended up in prison. Like, why are we rooting for him?
I wasn't
and
sure.
Then there's this weird
anybody.
No, there's this weird setup with the neighbor across the way that she could possibly be a love interest for Gabriel Byrne. Nothing ever happens.
Nothing. She
just follows him along, and then becomes a cartoon for a second.
Yep.
And then that plot's done.
You know, I think the reason why that plot was done, Cory, is you figure out that between the two ladies that come over to figure out what's going on, it looks like it's a mother-daughter.
It is.
So the girl we're talking about here has probably got like 20 odd years on Gabriel Byrne. So then, you know, what's more perverse? He goes after the co-ed or he goes after the animated chick. So of course he's going to go after the animated chick because that makes more sense, right?
Right.
No, I don't agree with that. Nothing makes sense.
That's the joke, Casey.
Nothing makes sense in this movie. And again, it's characters just show up, like especially the neighbor is maybe that and the I'm gonna have to find this guy's name. Like the he's like the purple animated. Almost. Yeah. What's up with him? Like he's kind of introduced as maybe he's gonna be the big baddie.
Yes,
and then
because he has those wooden nickels that turn into creatures that bite.
And then they return to him. Yeah.
He just seems like, you know, he's just the skeevy, just, you know, yeah.
But it would have been neat if he was involved somehow in the plot. Like
maybe him and Holly have this thing in cahoots of like she gets to sleep with a human, becomes annoyed, and then she's going to sleep with him and he'll become one too. And then they can rule both worlds.
Oh, this is a good idea. Yeah.
But then
we've created a better Casey, you have created a better movie than this movie.
Yeah.
Now by just adding 2 sentences to the plot line.
Cool World 2.
Oh no, let's not do that.
No, never.
Yeah, Cool World 2. Why couldn't we have watched Monkey Bone? Monkey Bone's a better movie than this.
Oh.
Monkey Bone's a movie with animation and real people. And I don't like Chris Kattan, and I would rather watch Monkey Bone than this. I actually kind of like it.
I'm sitting here going, the last time the Cool World was brought up with Casey and I around, we were at Average Joe's, and Monkey Bone came up then, too.
Oh, funny.
Nice.
We should have done Monkey Bone instead of this then.
Well, we were kind of hoping that we could just sit around and talk about Pete's Dragon for a while. I know you guys already did it, but no, I felt like I missed like 20
neither Lou and I
minutes.
have seen Pete's Dragon for a while, but I mean, I think we could probably still have a better conversation about that.
I think Casey just...
Dragons are cool.
Casey didn't know what he was getting into. He didn't realize that he was going to be making you guys fall on the sword.
Right.
Well, Cory, we only bring you on for movies that have 3 cuts or more, or are garbage. So I'm sorry. We have typecast you as the guy who watches all 3 versions of movies and garbage, and this falls into I wish there was 3 versions of Cool World.
Right. Yeah, we've already created a version than the original version. So yeah, that would be great.
It almost feels like there was a longer version of Cool World.
There
like
had to
it's
be.
missing a good half an hour out of it.
Mhm.
That
The
makes
beginning
some
makes
of this make
no
sense.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that would make it better. That's the thing. I don't know if any amount of trimming or additions would make this movie more than just a curiosity. And that's all it is. It's a weird curiosity for the animation live action genre.
It almost feels like a little bit of... And this is another rumor I've heard online about this movie. Don't know how much I believe of it. Maybe a little. But that after Ralph Bakshi got to... Basically, he gets the go-ahead to make Cool World, this version, not the version he wanted to, that he intentionally sabotaged a lot of it because he wants to give a big middle finger to Hollywood by making Hollywood the villain of the movie.
Oh, okay.
And then all the animation stuff is just thrown in there just because he's like, F this movie. I'm just going to literally throw random animations into scenes that make 0 sense. Because there's
he's got to spend the paycheck.
There's a conversation between Brad Pitt and Hollywood, and then all of a sudden there's like animated creatures running across the bottom of the screen. I'm like, what's going on? Where did these characters come from?
And they're just right there.
Supposedly, according to some of the people that animated it, a lot of the animators on that film were not given the script. They were just told to do things that were funny. And so that's the reason that you have these repetitions of characters just doing the same thing over and over again, and gags that do not fit a scene. Is these people didn't know that they were what they were creating something for. They just made animations. And that makes perfect sense, because the scene that you're talking about where they're in the bedroom and then all these creatures go by twice, I might add. The same animation is used twice in that scene. You'll see the characters run by, and then you'll see the same characters run by again. Just each side is doing it in different, going to a different side of the screen. But yeah, screw this movie. But I kind of recommend people watch it, though, in a weird way, because it's kind of interesting in how I think that it is something where watch something like, listen to this, here's some theories, here's some ideas about where this movie came from. Then watch that movie with those ideas in mind, and it might kind of be interesting, because the movie in and of itself is not. I didn't care about anybody in that film. I didn't care if anybody achieved any goals. I didn't care about Hollywood. I didn't care about the Sphere. I didn't care about Brad Pitt. I didn't care about his dead mom or his weird PTSD that is never brought back. Like, his crawling around thinking that he's in the war in the beginning, and then all this. Oh, that is one thing that we didn't bring up.
He said 50 years to get through his PTSD.
True.
Because he never ages in the cool world.
Oh, and also in those 50 years, somehow he also became a detective.
Magic. Mm-hmm.
It's never referenced.
Yeah,
he's now a detective.
And that's where my first question came up of why they chose Brad Pitt. I'm like, is he supposed to be like every couple years they choose a human to come into the cool world to be like a balance between the two, that if other humans try to come in, he's at least the one that's keeping them from banging any animations. But no, that's not why. He just stayed there because, and is now a detective because.
Well, Bob Haskin was busy being a detective for Who Framed Roger Rabbit, so they needed somebody different to be a detective in Cool World. So they just magically, it's Brad Pitt for whatever reason. And so he's just a normal dude that gets transported over there. And in those like 47 years, he's just like walking around. He decides, I'm new here and I'm going to start telling these people how to live their lives. I don't like how these people are living in their world. So I'm going to.
He's a true American in that, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Sure.
Watching this movie for the first time, because obviously we're doing this because we wanted to watch animated live action hybrid movies.
And I like to torture you, Casey.
And you definitely did torture me by making me watch this. At least I didn't pay for it. Thank God. But
Amazon Prime.
Yep.
My parents paid for it, and they're gonna have so many questions when they look at why did he watch Cool World? But with Brad Pitt being
after they watch it,
Brad Pitt being in the animated world, it's not fully animated, and that's where I have so many questions. Because, like I said, especially with his car is like a car from our world, but in some shots it's cardboard cutout. Mm-hmm. But when he's actually driving the car, it's animated.
Yep.
But why?
Cool World seems very much like it's almost like Cool World is nothing but a great big soundstage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. I have no explanation for why these things happen. I would assume that the changes were intentional by the production designer, but it's never explained why sometimes it is what it is. I mean, you have the real car, and then when they speed off sometimes, it automatically turns into the animated car. And then for, like you said, for a bit, it is this cardboard cutout that they're not trying to hide. Mm-hmm. It is obviously a cardboard cutout. Mm-hmm. And they are making you know that it is a cardboard cutout.
Yeah, like when they have the plywood backdrop scenes that are like cut out and they go and stand by them and you think, oh, that looks like plywood cutout. And then they intentionally move the camera so you can see it is a cutout. Mm-hmm. I do like that in some ways. All the different layers, how they have like a painted backdrop, and then they have like the cutouts, and then they have people, and then they have animation. I like when you mix up different effects like all together, and it was pretty. Like the backgrounds of the city were pretty. I thought they were cool, and I loved that kind of grainy, imperfect animation because that's what I grew up with. And so I do like aesthetically the imperfections of the animation, but I have no idea why they did anything in this movie.
I looked at it a little bit as, if you think of like the land of misfit toys, where like you like your characters, they don't all have a uniform aspect to their animation. The backdrops are different, whether it be 3D animation, 2D animation, or 2.5D with like the plywood kind of thing, whatnot. It's a little bit of where do animations go to die, or where would they go to live if they were gone, kind of thing. Is that that's where I see the Cool World, and that's why I see we have different animation styles depending on perspective and everything like that, because this is where they go when people have stopped thinking about them.
Okay, so they're like caught in between. They're not real, they're not fake. They exist, but they're not really
right.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow,
you
I got
put
deep
more
there for a
thought into
second.
it, Brian, than the rankers of this film did.
Yeah.
It's true. Yeah.
That's a really cool idea. I would watch that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's but they obviously did not think of that at all. I don't know what they were thinking.
That's right, Brian.
Yeah, I'm gonna flex those muscles.
What I'm questioning is the world building of this movie, because there is none. It's just you're just thrown into the cool world. There's no cool world building. It's just you're just there. Like that's like something like Brian said. That would at least just explain why the animations are different. The movie just does not care that it is different. It doesn't care. It doesn't care how Gabriel Byrne is sent from our world to the cool world. Just happens. Like he doesn't use the MacGuffin from the beginning or the end of the movie. He just it's sent. I'm like, can anyone do this? Can anyone pull a human? Because I would assume it's probably sort of explained in a way. Hollywood is at least tempting him into the world. Like she's probably like, at least the gateway for him to get over. But can anyone do that? And again, that maybe falls into Cory's theory of it's her world and she created it. She could pull in anyone she wants.
But then there is the scene where they go to the nightclub after Holly has become real, and she's going off with these other dudes, and he's trying to fight this group of guys that are kind of coming after him, and all of a sudden his hands become blue, and he starts having toon powers.
That's what I was literally just gonna say. Is like when he goes to manhandle the bouncer that kicks him out.
Yeah.
Basically slaps blue lightning on him and whatnot. It's like, do certain humans have a toon gene or whatnot that links them to the cool world that he doesn't know he's having until Holly kind of, activates it per se?
Well, maybe being a toon is like a sexually transmitted disease. That's
God damn it. That would definitely add to the layers of this film.
Yeah, they're the layers that are non-existent besides the actual drawings in the movie.
Right.
But so bringing up that club scene, what kind of weird club is this where basically he's like, that's my girl, and he's like, no, it's our girl. Now I'm like, what the hell is going to go on here that they're kicking him out? You are a bunch of weirdos. And then she eventually is also not allowed in there because
there's like 3 different times that she tells him, I don't need you, go away. And then a minute later, she's like screaming his name, needing his help. It's like, oh, that girl's so annoying. Like, I mean, she might be hot and all, but that's fine for like 2 days. I mean, let's just not do this. Like,
I'm going to get whatever I want. They didn't give me what I wanted. I need your help again.
Yes, that is exactly what it is. She thought that the second that she was, a real girl, like that she could just go and have people give her everything that she wants. She has this really blind ambition.
Because that's how it works in the cool world.
Yeah, well, her ambition is just completely blind because I don't know what her goal is. I don't think she knows what her goal is.
And that's what I was going to ask. So, okay, so she has sex with Gabriel Byrne, turns into real life Kim Basinger. They make their way to our world. And then she wants to meld the two worlds together, sort of. Except she's not very happy when she starts jumping back and forth from being animated to real person. She doesn't like that very much. But she's trying to also do that, bring the toon world into our world. Right?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Also, she's not the same. Like when she, she's a different.
Why is she a clown?
She's a different drawing. Like, why isn't she just animated Hollywood? She turns into a completely different character. And then by the end of the movie, when she turns back animated, she is just Hollywood. Like, she's not a weird clown.
Cory had a good theory about that last night, though, about the clown stuff. He thought it probably made this really weird subsect of people. Because it's like, it happens to be kind of Kim Basinger's like sexy time in the movie. Like she looks pretty spot on and she's doing all the writhing, in the little bodysuit. And then all of a sudden she starts turning into a clown.
And now, they're an entire small subsect of a generation that now just gets turned on by, cartoon clowns. It's like, well, I have a boner, and oh, this is so hot. Now she's a clown. what are you gonna do? Let's just continue with this.
Let it
This
ride.
is weird, but I'm good with
Something
it.
tells me that subsect of people didn't need Corwold for that to happen.
And also, by the way, another thing that's not explained, now when she's a cartoon in the real world, she can go through walls.
But only some of the times. Because
Right.
when she needs to, she can't.
Right.
She's not concentrating hard enough. She
Um,
doesn't have vision.
But was that a thing she could do in Cool World? Is,
I don't know.
transfer through wall?
I don't
The
know.
walls are just 2D at that point. It's all about perspective.
Yeah.
Which this movie has none.
None.
And then, okay.
Maybe the walls turn into cardboard cutouts that she can walk around.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's all about the perspective.
But it still doesn't explain how she walks through a wall and then 30 seconds later she can't walk through a different wall.
No.
Or kick Brad Pitt in the process.
Yeah.
And then Brad Pitt dies for no reason.
I want to point out that the scenes when they're in the hotel and Brad Pitt is chasing her and whatnot and proceeds to get kicked in the nuts when she walks through that wall we're talking about and whatnot is I'm looking at this going, this is the early development. This was him like testing his ability to become Detective Mills for 7.
Yeah.
Like, what do I need to do to become a good detective on screen? And here's what I need not to do.
Having an actual script probably helps with being a good detective on screen.
Yeah, but in terms of at least that specific part of the movie, like the way you hear him talk, beforehand, he has very much that 1940s aesthetic to his sound and whatnot. But like that spot, like right there, he sounded like Detective Mills more than he sounded like a 1940s,
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And I was going to say, there's good stuff in this movie. It's just layered on a bunch of nonsense.
I want to know what this is. I didn't know you were going to go with that. There's good stuff. At least I've gotten that out of Lou here, not you.
Like Brad Pitt is still Brad Pitt. Like, he still has that movie star quality throughout this movie. It's just he wasn't given any direction in terms of the animation around him. He's not making any actual eye contact with anyone in this movie that he's animated around.
Because if he's going after Hollywood, that's not his eyes that he's looking for.
That's I don't know what his eyes are looking for. He's looking at the PIA on the offset, asking why the fuck am I in this movie? But he's good enough where if a better movie was written around Brad Pitt, he could be really good in this. I like the setup, but then they don't do anything with the setup, so I'm like, well, that doesn't matter anymore. And the animation is great because Ralph Bakshi animation is just his animated movies are great. Like, but then you have this where it tries to meld this weird real world type of story into his even crazier mind-melting animation, and it just does not work along with the studio meddling and Kim Basinger wanting to show this horny-ass movie to kids in hospitals. So there's good stuff in here. It's just, I wish they would have just given Ralph Bakshi the movie and said, go make it. Instead of, like, having all these hands in the pot. Replace Kim Basinger then if she wasn't going to be fully on board with this movie with any other generic blonde from the 90s, and let's go from there. Throw in Heather Locklear. I don't know. I don't care.
Ooh. Yeah, she's a good choice.
I mean, yeah, I said it earlier. I almost would recommend people watch this because there is enough stuff in there that is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But I would recommend going in knowing the things about the production that you know. So it's because you're not going to get anything interesting from the plot or the characters or anything of that. It's all production design. It's all the look of the world. It's all certain concepts from the film, but the actual movie itself is not interesting. The behind the scenes stuff is interesting. And I don't know, maybe just go listen to this podcast, go and read some more stuff about it, and then look at stills of Cool World.
That might be the better way to watch this movie. That's true.
You see the poster behind Brian?
Yeah.
That poster is cooler than anything that is in this movie.
Well, because that kind of interjects like a Dick Tracy kind of vibe to it. And that would have been cool to have that kind of feeling to it. Although, the acting in this movie is so all over the place. There's like a scene with Brad Pitt and Gabriel Byrne where it's like, oh, you guys are acting. That's fun. That's good. I like it. But then there's other times that it just doesn't work. And then Kim Basinger, I love the voice. It's cool. But until she's a real person, her character's so stupid. I don't like it.
Her human form is much better.
I think that her human form is
so
maybe the worst. No, I think it's the worst part of this movie. I would rather watch animated version because at least it fits within sort of a character. But when she comes real, I'm like, what the hell is Kim Basinger doing? Because she's trying to do some weird comedy within that. Yeah, and there's a comedy scene where she shows up at the Vegas hotel. And she's doing the looking up, looking down thing with the guy that's trying to park her car. I'm like, what is this? What is this movie now? Like, what are they trying to do? It's so unfunny.
That is what you do in a cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
But but Kim Basinger at that point is not a cartoon.
She doesn't know that.
So bad.
You can take the cartoon out of the girl, but you can't take the girl out of the cartoon. I don't know. I think she's still a cartoon. She's just in a human form, so she's still gonna do the cartoony stuff.
Yep.
Do you feel Kim Basinger nailed that part though? Of being a cartoon in the real world as a human.
I actually am kind of along with Blue, and I mentioned this while we were watching it that the performance is maybe a little flawed, but more interesting to me, because to me, the character of Hollywood as a cartoon is not interesting. It's just, Marilyn Monroe meets Betty Boop.
Mm-hmm.
And Jessica Rabbit. Be real.
And that's another thing. I mean, I guess within the world that she's created or that is created, outside things from the real world, from our world, are also popular there, and she styles herself off of that because she mentioned Monroe at some point in time. I can't remember what movie.
It's the dress.
It's not 7-Year Itch, but
it's not 7-Year Itch. It's Let's Make Love, or that's
something like that. Yeah.
No, that doesn't foreshadow anything at all.
No, nothing in this film is foreshadowed. Other than the fact that there are cartoons.
I really don't think that there was a final script while shooting this movie, because especially with the animation story of why certain animations are literally just thrown in there because the animators didn't have a script. I don't think anyone had one. They probably just showed up on set that day and was like, all right, Brad, here's your line, say them. And that's the performances we got out of this. Gabriel Byrne is really bad in this movie. Like why has this guy ever been in anything ever after this bad in this movie?
Speaking of Gabriel Byrne, I just had a thought. You know who would be better at Hollywood? Ellen Barkin.
Yes, I love her.
Ellen Barkin. She has that weird sort of sexiness that Jessica Rabbit has to her voice. They could do some motion capture looking stuff, just kind of look at how she moves, and I think she would have, it would be more believable as I get that people have the hots for this character, because the character in and of itself is not a hot cartoon character. Okay, we're opening a Pandora's box here, talking about hot cartoon characters. But
no, don't worry. By the end of this series, we're gonna have to rank Lola Bunny, Jessica Rabbit, and
Hollywood,
and Pete's Dragon in there as well.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Oh, that dragon's hot as shit.
Literally.
Oh yeah. Gonna go to town on that dragon.
Oh boy.
All right, I'm disturbed.
Anyway, where were you going with that, Cory? She's hot or not hot? I don't know.
I don't know.
He's on the fence.
He
He doesn't
I don't think that the animated version, I think that there are so many different drawing styles for Hollywood in this film. It fluctuates from scene to scene, whether she is detailed or not. And so because the drawing that he made in prison does not look like the character in the cool world. And even she doesn't look like herself sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Like when she's writhing around on top of dead Gabriel Byrne in the sex scene. So no, I never really looked at that character and thought, yeah, I'm getting a boner off of this. It's just, it's a supposedly sexy character. They wanted a Jessica Rabbit and they drew this.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like a character came up that was conceptualized by committee instead of from Bakshi's brain.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. It's Cool World. We've thought more about it than I think the people that made it.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's true.
Yeah, I'm with you, Cory. I'm ready to be like, all right, we're done with Cool World. Let's get to our world. Would rather watch The Real World, the MTV show, than this shit. But
yeah. You know what you could watch? You know what you could watch that takes place in the real world? It's a show called Pig Royalty.
Oh gosh.
Now that's a show that's better than Cool World. Watch Pig Royalty. It's about people that show pigs it's like the Hatfields and McCoys, but for people that do show pigs. It's great. It's on Discovery Plus. Y'all should watch it. Better than Cool World.
I mean, I had fun watching Cool World, though. Let's get real about that, though. I mean, but I watched
Did you have fun watching Cool World, Lori?
Yeah, I did, Cory.
Okay.
I had a good time. It was a fun movie to watch with somebody and kind of be like, huh, what? Did I miss 20 minutes of this movie when I was getting another glass of wine? Because he's a detective now. What's happening? That's so interesting.
Nope, Lori, you didn't actually go and get a glass of wine. They just made that cut. They just jumped.
It was so weird. You blink and it's a different movie. It's very exciting. You don't know what's going to happen.
All right, let's get into our final thoughts on this dumpster fire of a movie. Yeah, first time watching it by myself. That is the most depressing thing you could ever do in your entire life, is watching Cool World as an adult and trying to comprehend anything that is happening in this movie. Do I recommend it? Yeah,
you do.
I would say for the same reasons Cory said. Like, go in, look up behind the scenes on this, and figure out what this movie could have, would have, should have been, and then you watch the version we actually got, and you're like, what is this movie? Why did this happen? And why are people still talking about Cool World all these years later? So I guess slight recommend, but know that it is a horrible movie, that none of the plot makes sense. The acting is not very good, and the animation is really good, but it is very much all over the place and very like schizophrenic in that way.
Schizophrenic is a very good word for this movie.
For sure.
Brian, final thoughts.
Oh, as the one who said when we were doing this series and whatnot, I immediately put Cool World on the list and whatnot. I had no clue whatsoever whether you had seen the movie or not. I was like, if we're going to be talking about these kind of movies, this is a movie you have to talk about, just because, like you said, the dumpster fire that it is, seen it or know the behind the scenes and whatnot. This movie, the stuff that makes this movie bad is what makes you appreciate other movies that execute the premise better. You appreciate those more. Like, for instance, if you watch this and then watch like Roger Rabbit, you understand why you like Roger Rabbit that much more.
Mm-hmm.
That sort of thing. So I agree, is you sit there and you power through this, you watch this because you realize, there was maybe a good idea there. It's just the execution was, I blame Paramount.
Lou, Cory, final thoughts on Cool World. Is this going to be the last time you ever watch it as an adult?
For me, I'm not going to watch this movie again. But I do suggest, if you've seen it before as a kid, maybe rewatching it as an adult, just to kind of see what kind of a crazy.
How
movie.
Tormented we were as kids.
Yeah. And how I didn't really think anything of it clearly by the way that I completely forgot that I had watched it. And seeing it again was neat for little pieces of it, like the animation. And, I'm not a huge fan of Brad Pitt, so his performance was kind of interesting for me as a connoisseur of not liking Brad Pitt. And so I liked parts of it, and it was fun to talk about. So we'll do that.
And now the axe is being thrown. All right, Cory.
I know Cory's ready to.
I was going to state that this almost kind of feels like when Jurassic Park came out. Like Roger Corman did a movie called Carnosaur, and Carnosaur is kind of badass, but it's very low budget. And then you remember that Cool World cost $30 million. So it really wasn't a low budget movie. It's just kind of a poor movie, but kind of an interesting movie. But I'm a weird type of cat, though. I will sit and watch something if the concept of what I'm watching is kind of interesting, or just watching it for being a complete and utter dumpster fire. I don't know if I would recommend it to the public at large. I don't think that you would go to your parents' house and say, hey, you should probably watch Cool World. I don't think you should go to your friend's house and say, hey, let's watch Cool World. I don't think that you should bring it up for a podcast content. I don't think that that's necessarily a thing that you should do. But if you are a certain type of person, watch Cool World. It won't change anything about your life.
Cory,
you won't probably remember that you even watched it, but it's kind of interesting.
Cory, do you have anybody do you ever run into that instance of you got people that did like, I know Cory's a movie guy, so I'm going to constantly berate him and like constantly asking you questions and like trying to like, what should I watch next? What should I watch next? To the point where you'd be like, you know what? You've annoyed me so much. I'm going to give you the movie that will get you to stop asking me about movies.
Sure.
This is the movie you give them.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah. It's the way of the gun of movie recommendations. I haven't brought up. Has anybody here seen Way of the Gun?
Isn't that the Ryan Felipe and Benicio del Toro movie?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was the movie that Chris McQuarrie made because everybody kept asking him to make crime movies, and he wanted to write and direct a crime film that would make sure that nobody asks him to do it ever again.
I remember blind buying that movie, getting about a quarter of the way through it, stopped it, and I've never seen it since. I don't have the movie anymore, but yes, I can even remember like the box art. That's why I was like, "Are you talking them that?" Yeah,
I love that movie. I think that movie is great.
Of course you do.
Any movie that has an opening, the type of opening that film has, will always have a soft spot in my heart.
now I might have to go back and watch that.
Yeah. And the movie just gets better from there. Jeffrey Lewis's performance is great. I didn't know that this was going to be somewhat of an episode about Way of the Gun, but like, don't watch Cool World. Watch Way of the Gun. Way of the Gun's really good. I like Way of the Gun.
All right, then, Cory, I'll ask you first this last question. If you're going to pair one movie with Cool World, is it Way of the Gun?
No. I think that I'm going to go outside of the box, but not completely outside of the box. I am going to go off of a movie that was recommended to me after I watched Cool World, which is, I think, the 1992 or 93 film Bebe's Kids.
God damn you, Cory!
Baby's Kids! Oh yes, I love that movie.
God damn you, Cory!
Yes.
You took my double feature for it. Okay, see, I'm always on that point where I never have something ready and whatnot. This is exactly what The movie that I've had in my brain since the entire time this week that I was prepping to watch this movie. I'm like, it's Bebe's Kids.
Yes.
Just because Tone Loc is the baby is amazing.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, guys, are we gonna watch Bebe's Kids after this?
Oh, that's the thing though. Robin, I think his name is Robin Harris. He actually, I think, is live action in the beginning of the movie doing stand-up. So technically live action and animation. Bebe's Kids.
Okay.
Bebe's Kids.
Well, Cory just took mine, so I'm ill prepared for said question now.
How about this? I'll pick another movie, and that movie will be Robot Jocks, because I just talked about Robot Jocks last night. So now Brian can use Bebe's Kids, and we'll wipe this part. We'll use that MIB thing and wipe our memories. And I never mentioned Bebe's Kids.
I will just
I'll
just animate over it, Cory.
Oh, good idea.
I said I'll just animate over it, and it'll fix it all.
Waking Life would be a great film to watch with this, because you are questioning your own reality after watching Cool World, and you need to watch a movie that features philosophy.
Dun dun dun.
This movie features that too, right?
Yeah.
Sure. Lou, what do you got?
I mean, I'll be boring, but I would say Who Framed Roger Rabbit, just because they're very similar movies. It's just one's done really well and has a good plot.
So you watch Cool World first, and then you watch Roger Rabbit, so that you can end on a good note.
Mm-hmm. Get that taste out of your mouth. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Bobby Z's like, yeah, I did it better, and I did it before you did.
Totes. Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite Letterboxd reviews for this movie, Cool World, is Who Banged Roger Rabbit. And that's all it said.
There you go.
I'm like, that's the perfect description for Cool World. Brian, yours is Bebe's Kids?
Absolutely. Have you ever seen Bebe's Kids?
I've never heard of Bebe's Kids.
Oh, you should.
It's on Prime.
You are in for a treat.
You are. Yeah, totally.
Have you seen the movie House Party, Casey? Have you seen the movie House Party?
With Kid and Play.
No, I have not.
Okay, because the dude, you've seen Do the Right Thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of the gentlemen that sits around in Do the Right Thing is Robin Harris, I think his name is. And he was a stand-up comedian, and he created Bebe's Kids. You should watch Bebe's Kids.
I will have to watch Bebe's Kids then.
It's on Prime.
Oh, I'm going to go watch it. Yeah. Love that movie.
I think we might watch Bebe's Kids.
I think we're totally
after this is over.
Yeah.
Again, so picture Tone Loc, Wild Thing as the youngest member of this family. It's great. I can't recommend. If I was going to recommend anything right now, if it wasn't Cool World, I'd recommend Bebe's Kids.
We have just entered the Inception version of Cool World right now. I'll finish really quickly. I'm gonna my double feature. Then I'm gonna go with Fantastic Four from 2015 because that's how I felt about this movie while watching it. It doesn't feel like a real movie. It feels like a movie that's half finished, half what it was actually released in theaters. So I'll throw in another half-assed movie with Fantastic Four and Cool World together.
Yeah, I can see that.
And both of these movies, I want like full documentaries on why they happened and why they fell apart.
Yeah, Fantastic Four is a really, really. I don't even know if there was a good movie there, but man, the thing that was released was not.
It wasn't even a movie.
No.
So you're saying I should watch it?
Fan Four Stick? Yes.
In the way, I think I would recommend it the same way I'd recommend Cool World in terms of you have to watch it to kind of understand why is this a thing? Why did this get made? And why is it only halfway done?
Mm-hmm.
Because literally the final act, the special effects are I felt like I was watching this movie 4 months early. The special effects aren't finished.
And then there are obvious wigs in the entire film of people that because there was a good period of time between shooting the reshoots and shooting the actual film. And is it Rooney that's in that? Rooney Mara? I can't remember which Mara sister.
No,
is in
Kate Mara is in that.
Is it Kate Mara? Because she has a very obvious wig in that film, and her hairstyle changes from scene to scene, and so do the gentlemen that are in the film. Yeah, that's
there's a point.
Good pick, Casey.
There's a point where it
that.
says 1 year later on the bottom, and it's like, oh, that's when Josh Trank went off the deep end, and now this movie is not what it was supposed to be. I do recommend Fanforstic as well, because it is just a wild movie that it's like, how the fuck did that get made?
That should be your next series. How the F did that get made? Really awful movies nobody should watch.
So we're gonna have to watch them so that we can talk about why you don't watch them.
Yeah, why you don't want to watch them.
We'll be the nostalgia critic, but better.
Yeah.
Ooh, there you go.
Don't start your own game show, though. Don't crowdfund your own game show. That's little point number one, because you'll never make it, and it will be stupid when you do.
We're just throwing tons of shade at internet people, movie people on today.
Right.
Why don't you review The Wall? Why don't you find another loved musical and review that and completely miss the point of the said musical? Yeah, you could do that. That'd be great.
Corey Taylor's in town in a few weeks. I'll get him to be on it with us.
There you go.
No one understands this unless they've seen those reviews. But yeah, let's wrap up Cool World. We talked about it way too long. We gave more thought into this movie than anyone has ever, including Ralph Bakshi, into this movie. But yeah, go check it out. Slight recommending away from all four of us. It is on Prime. Beware. Next week,
watch it for free.
Next week we have another movie I've not ever seen before, and shame on me for doing so. And I'm hoping it is much better than Cool World. It is Pete's Dragon, 1977.
You're gonna like it.
Oh, so I am very excited to watch it.
I've never seen either one of them. I think I just blew a gasket for Lou.
Yep.
And
favorite. Yeah.
Both Cory and Lou were like, why the hell did you guys not ask us to be on this one instead?
Yeah, no, I'm so happy that it was this one, though.
Yeah, I'm happy that I watched Cool World again. My life is more fulfilled.
I am sorry that the first names I thought of when I saw Cool World on the schedule was both of you. I am so sorry.
I think nothing wrong with that. He's reading the behind the scenes. It's like, who can I torture first?
Right.
Who am I dragging down with me? I guess Cory and Lou. Let's get into the plugs then, Brian. You can subscribe to us on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Google, Amazon Music, YouTube. Brian, where can they find us social media wise?
Social media wise, check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd at Backlot605. Also join us at the South Dakota Film Community Group, where we're talking about what we want to do in regards to building up this film community here in South Dakota, and just talking about movies in general.
And then I got to give a shout out to our Patreon, patreon.com/backlot605. Me and Brian screwed the pooch in June, so we're going to make it up with at least 3, maybe 4 bonus episodes for you $5 patrons. And special shout out to those patrons: Logan, Blake, Andy, Derek. Hey, look, it's Lou. Hey, look, it's Cory.
Hey,
and Darren and John. Thank you all for supporting the show. Hopefully you guys listen to our Fast and the Furious episode, even if you haven't seen the movie, because it is one of my favorite bonus episodes we've ever done.
It's spoiler free.
Oh.
No, it's not. It's all spoilers.
Well, but isn't a spoiler like the back thing on a car? I bet it doesn't have one of those.
Yeah.
Spoiler.
It is a Fast and the Furious movie, so it has a lot of those.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, I've been waiting this whole time to make that joke.
We also have at least 2 more episodes coming out. So we will be doing Space Jam: A New Legacy, and we will be doing an episode on Black Widow this week as well. So,
cool.
Possibly Pete's Dragon or Mary Poppins. One of those two is what I'm thinking we might do as well. So, and not Mary Poppins, whatever the new one's called, Returns.
Mary Poppins Returns with Emily Blunt.
Sorry, Emily Blunt. Cory, Lou, who wants to go do some plugging away first?
Lou, you do it.
Okay, cool. Well, you can find me on Instagram at Local Lou Podcast, and you can listen to the Local Lou Podcast if you want to learn about some South Dakota history stuff or listen to me read historical markers. It's kind of interesting. If you don't know a lot about the area, it's really fun. And if you do, then you should probably tell me things because I'm learning them as I go.
And Mr. Cory.
Cory just wants to see if we can see up his nose the way he keeps going.
I know.
Yep. I am Somewhat Random Movie Collection on Instagram, and This Movie's History will be back. That is a podcast that I run with Local Lou. It will be back in some form, hopefully very soon. It's just life gets in the way.
We've been busy seeing movies at the State Theater. We have been having a good time enjoying all of the awesome stuff there is to see out there, and finally being able to get out a little bit and see movies in the theater again has been pretty exciting.
You're going to go see The Warriors?
I believe so.
I'm going to go see The Warriors.
Cory, are you going to come out to play?
Come out to play.
This will be the first time for me seeing that one too.
Now that's on Saturday, right? It's not
Correct.
On Friday.
Mm-hmm.
It's on 17th.
Okay. Because I do work really early next weekend, so if it were on Friday, that might be a little bit more problematic. Saturday evening, as long as I get a nap, I should be able to do that. But this really is not a conversation for the podcast. This is more just a meet and greet type of thing between us.
Well,
so.
that's okay. We hope people listening will also be at the Warriors that night as well.
Exactly.
And I am sorry for when This Movie's History comes back that we took away a potential podcast episode with Cool World because I'm sorry. But hopefully we just got it out of the way for you, and you never have to watch this movie ever again.
No, they've watched it. They could still do the episode, and they could just talk about all the crap that happened behind it. They don't have to go experience it.
That's true.
Right.
So we helped them in the process. We got them an episode. Yeah.
Thank you guys for helping us.
Thank you for coming on and enjoying this hellscape ride that we were on today. I do appreciate you going to hell and back for us, just like Apocalypse Now, but different.
Yes.
Yes. So let's kind of wrap this thing up then. Thank you again, Local Lou, Cory, Nels, Jacobsen. For Brian Mensing, I am Casey Kelderman. We'll see y'all next week on the backlot of South Dakota.
Yeah.